There we are. Hey everyone. We are excited for another 1 hour of power. That's right. We're jumping in again with our fruit of the spirits. And fruit of the spirits? Fruit of the spirit. That's what I meant to say. And we are on faithfulness today. So we've gone through, let's see if we can name them. Ready? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness. That's right. So faithfulness is the 7th fruit of the Spirit listed. And that's what today's episode is all going to be about. We're going to sing a couple songs to get things rocking and rolling. Here's one of our favorites at camp. It's called Days of Elijah. That's right. And it talks about all kinds of people in the Bible stories and how God was faithful to them and how they were faithful to God. So, there are some actions, so repeat after me.
After me.
Prepare ye the way of the Lord.
Prepare ye the way of the Lord.
Behold, he comes.
Behold, he comes.
Riding on the clouds.
Riding on the clouds.
Shining like the sun.
Shining like the sun.
At the trumpet call.
At the trumpet call.
So lift your voice.
So lift your voice.
It's the year of Jubilee.
It's the year of Jubilee.
And out of Zion's hill.
And out of Zion's hill.
Salvation.
Salvation
comes.
comes.
That's right.
That's right.
Now there's a lot of words in the verses, so feel free to just join us when we get to the chorus part. Sing real loud and do all the actions with us. These are days. These are the days of Elijah, declaring the word of the Lord. And these are the days of your servant Moses, righteousness being restored. And though these are days of your trials, of famine and darkness and sorrow, still we are the heart pumping
Or
and
your
your
back
blood
hurting.
flowing. Yeah. Woo! Stretch it out, right. Hey, I want to know one thing. We are going to do another song next, but I want to know from you, what is one of your favorite camp songs or worship songs or kids ministry songs? I'd love to hear some of your ideas of your favorite songs so that we know what would you like to hear. Maybe we can try some new songs and do them for you, or maybe we're just forgetting one of your very favorites that you'd love to see us do. So type those into the comments section. Let us know your favorite camp song, whether it's an action song or not. We just love to hear it. All right, well, this next song is called Trading My Sorrows. There are some actions, so please repeat after me.
After me.
I'm trading my sorrows.
I'm trading my sorrows.
I'm trading my shame.
I'm trading my shame.
I'm laying them down
I'm laying them
for
down
the joy of the Lord.
for the joy of the Lord.
I'm trading my sickness.
I'm trading my sickness.
I'm trading my pain.
I'm trading my pain.
I'm laying them down
I'm laying
for
down
the joy of the
for
Lord.
the joy of the Lord.
And then when we get to the yes, Lord part,
And then we
you can jump around.
jump around. Jump around.
That's
Jump
right.
around.
Start right out with I'm trading my sorrows. Here we go. I'm trading my sorrows. I'm trading my shame. I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. I'm trading my sickness. I'm trading my pain. I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. Yes, Lord, we say yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Amen. I am pressed, but not crushed, persecuted, not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. I am blessed beyond the curse, for His promise will endure, that His joy is gonna be my strength. Though the sorrow may last for the night, His joy comes with the morning. I'm trading my sorrow. I'm trading my shame. Let's go with it. I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. Trade my sickness, here we go. I'm trading my sickness. I'm trading my pain. I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. Yes, Lord, we say yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Amen. Woo! Amen. All right, you can have a seat for a moment. All right, today we're going to talk about faithfulness. Everybody say faithfulness.
Faithfulness.
That's right. And faithfulness is a big word, and it's a word that we use in church a lot. It's a word we use in the Bible a lot, but we don't always use it in our regular daily conversations with people. So we're going to talk today about what it means to be faithful. And I believe that we have a special guest coming on board and a special news bulletin to introduce it.
Welcome to the Noon O'Clock News. I'm your anchor, Oswald Denswald. Well, today we are talking on the topics of the fruit of the Spirit. And we have gotten into our themes of it, and today we're talking about faithfulness. We've got a special guest here today who's been becoming a strong, faithful discipleship of God. And so we called him into the studio today, and I'd like for you to give a warm welcoming applause to Abraham.
Hello. Thank Thanks for having me on.
Of course, Abraham, take a seat. So, Abraham, I got a few questions here for you.
Yes.
First one is, when did you start following God? What did it look like?
Well, I remember when I was back in my father's land called Ur.
Ur?
Exactly. Ur. It's really hard to spell. U-R. Ur. Right. Anyway, I was just minding my own business, helping out with the family herds, when all of a sudden God called me. He spoke to me and he said, Abraham, follow me to a land that I will show you. So I did.
Wow, just that simple.
Yeah, there wasn't much more to it.
Fair enough. You just gave me a call on the phone and alright, you just followed me.
I don't know what a phone is.
That's fair enough. Alright, second question, moving on. What were the hardest challenging times to be faithful to God?
Oh, well, there were many challenges. For one, when God led us to the land, there were people there that were already living there. And my family and I weren't going to be able to take the land. And God apparently didn't give it to us right then. So I didn't really know what he meant. But I kept following him. Then, my wife, when we were in Egypt, the Pharaoh took a fancy to her. And I was afraid for my life. Because I thought he would fall in love with her and get rid of me in the process. But that didn't happen. And then my nephew Lot got all tangled up in a mess and I had to go to war to win him back. There were a lot of challenges, but none of them was greater than the time that God asked me to give up my only son. You see, God had promised that I would have a son even at my old age, and that son would be my lineage. And then God asked me to give him up as a sacrifice. So God had been faithful up to that point, and I was about to do it. But God spared me, and I didn't have to. That was the greatest challenge by far.
Interesting. Such interesting things that God would ask you to sacrifice your only son, but he intervened. So I can see how that strengthens the faith. Moving on to question 3, how did you become such a faithful follower? Do you have any tips for any of those struggling followers out there?
Yes. Well, you see, it's really not so much about me being faithful to God. It's about God being faithful to me. You see, everything that God said he would do, he did. Even if it wasn't when I was expecting it. All of God's promises came true. He protected me and provided for me all along the way. So it was easy for me to keep trusting him. So being faithful to God is really about trusting him and continuing to press on following him, even when times are tough. So my tip is just to remember all the ways that God has been faithful to us in our lives. And if he has been faithful to us every time before, and to all the people that came before us, he'll be faithful in the future too.
All right. Those are some pretty good tips, solid tips to be a faithful follower of God. Before we wrap up, I just got one last question for you.
Yes.
Is that a broomstick you're using for a walking staff?
I mean, I live in the desert. It gets kind of dusty. Is that a flashlight you're using for a microphone?
Touche. Moving on. So that's our story we got here for the noon o'clock news. Again, I'm your anchor, Oswald the Enswald, and this has been our interview with Abraham. God bless you all, and peace like a river.
Ugh. Just get rid of my own dust here.
Oh man, that was funny. I work with these goons. You're funny guys. All right, we're gonna have our shake break, and we're gonna play a game kind of like our heads and tails. This time it's called higher or lower, the deck of cards. All right, so our first card is going to be a 4. All right, you can't really see, I'll put it up there a little more, a 4. All right, now you guys have to guess whether the next card is gonna be higher or lower than a 4. All right, starting low on the deck, so pretty easy. All right, do you think it's higher or lower than a 4? All right, and you're gonna see how many in a row you can get right. Okay, so your goal is to see how long of a streak you can have. All right, so number is 4, higher or lower than a 4?
I think it's gonna be higher.
It's a jack. It's higher.
Yes.
All right,
Higher.
higher or lower than a jack? I'm gonna go up a little bit closer.
I'm gonna go with
Higher or lower than a jack? All right, and it's an 8. It's lower.
Lower.
All right.
It's like right in the middle.
Higher or lower than an 8? Higher or lower than an 8? It's higher, it's a king.
Yeah.
I had 2 so far. Alright, gotta start over.
Yeah, 3.
Alright, higher or lower than a king?
Higher than a king?
I bet it's higher than a king.
No, probably lower than a king.
I think it's higher. Oh, it's a 9!
Yes.
Alright.
4 in a row. 4 in a row.
Alright, higher or lower than a 9? Higher or lower than a 9? Lock it in.
Higher.
Oh, and it's a 9! So, I will let that be a win for everybody because you were close enough, I guess. I wasn't expecting 2 9s in a row. It was random, so I didn't have to.
Sweet.
No.
5 in a row.
All right.
Count the 9.
So, higher or lower than a 9?
Freebie.
Higher or lower than a 9?
Still going lower.
It is a jack! It is higher than a 9.
Oh, peanut butter fluff.
All right, higher or lower than a jack? Higher or lower than a jack? Lock it in. It's a 6. I'm upside down. It's a 6. All right, so higher or lower than a 6? Higher or lower than a 6? It's a 3.
Oh, mayonnaise.
All right, higher or lower than a 3? Higher or lower than a 3? It's a 4. It's higher.
Oh, barely.
I'm gonna count that for myself.
All right, higher or lower than a 4? Higher or lower than a 4? It's a jack. It's higher.
Yes. 2 in a row.
All right, higher or lower than a jack? It's a 9. It's lower. All right, higher or lower than a 9?
Higher than 3.
It's lower. It's a 4.
Yes.
Higher or lower than a 4? Higher or lower than a 4? It's another 4. That's a point. That's 1 for everybody. All right, higher or lower than a 4?
This could be my streak.
It's higher than a 4. It's 10.
Nice.
All right, higher or lower than a 10? Higher or lower than a 10?
Lower.
It's a 7.
Woo! I'm at 7.
Higher or lower than a 7? Higher or lower than a 7?
Lower. Lower.
It's a 9.
Oh!
Higher or lower than a 9? Higher or lower than a 9? It's a 3. It's lower.
Yes.
I was gonna put my hands up, but back to
Well,
0.
your hands were down, so.
Yeah.
All right, higher or lower than a 3? Higher or lower than a 3?
Lower. Definitely.
It's a queen.
Oh.
Higher or lower than a
I think it's
queen?
going to be one of the last 2 kings.
Higher or lower than a queen? It's an ace. We'll make that higher.
Okay, but is an ace a 1 in this game?
1.
A 1?
Yeah.
1. All right, higher or lower than an ace? Higher or lower than an ace?
I bet it's another ace.
You'd be wrong because it's a king.
Woo!
We end on a king, just like all.
Last one. All right.
All right, so now I'm gonna welcome up Evan for holy humor.
It's time again for you to break your sides laughing for all of my hilarious jokes that aren't my own creation. They're just anyway. It's time for holy humor. So, hold on, I have to remember what it was. What kind of a man was Boaz before he was married? He was ruthless. Get it? Because he was married to Ruth, and before he was okay. All right. Yeah.
Hey, welcome today. Welcome. Today is Tie-Dye Tuesday. It's Tuesday, but there's no tie-dye. Anyway, We got color creation today. I think you're gonna love it with my friend Bree. There it is. You know, Evan told me and I just forgot. Anyway, he went outside and found certain things and then he put it behind it, am I correct? And colored on top of it, which made those designs. He found leaves. He found some real bark. I don't know where he found. Did you find some real grass?
I tried.
Or did you put it on a tree? Put it on a tree and he scribbled while he was on the bark. So that's how it made that design. And I'm not very good at explaining things, but you know how that goes.
So you're gonna find a bucket of crayons, and then your goal is to go outside and you're gonna find the color of the leaves that you find. Try and match up the exact color. And then, like Mitsu said, you're gonna put the leaf behind this. You can kind of see the lines here. And you're gonna color that on it so it actually looks like a leaf. And you're gonna do that with whatever other things you find. So whether you make a tree, you could make your house, or anything else, like a flower or a rock. A rock, probably too easy. Anything you find outside. It doesn't have to be a tree, but a tree is what we decided to do. Alrighty. Next, we're gonna
Believe me, it's good fun.
Believe me. That's a good joke. Alright, next we're gonna do our game of the day. And this game is called Airplane. And it's a spin-off of Pin the Tail on the Donkey. So you're gonna need to find a giant world map, like a flat one. If you don't have that, a globe will work too, or yeah, a globe will work. And you are going to blindfold one person, no peeking, make sure you can't see at all. And before you get blindfolded all that, you're going to cut out an airplane shape. I have a piece of paper, put a piece of tape behind it so that you can stick it to the map. You're gonna choose a place. You can maybe use a little sticky note or something, or a piece of tape on the map or the globe. Make an X. That's where you are taking off from. Your goal is to land the furthest away from everybody else on the map or the globe. Now, if you land in the water, you crashed. And it doesn't count. But you're gonna start back and you're gonna be blindfolded and you're gonna take your airplane up and you're gonna stick it blindfolded on the map somewhere. To add an extra challenge, you can make an obstacle course you have to go through, or do that. You can spin around and try and do it. Any way you want to do it. Let us know where you landed. That'll be super fun.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up our time for 1 hour of power. So just a reminder, after this video, you can do your crayon creation craft outside. You can do the game of the day. We also have some conversation starters that you might want to ask and talk about right after the video about faithfulness and about how God has been faithful in your life as well. Now, we just want to remind you again to like our Facebook page if you haven't already, so you can get notifications about when we're doing these again and other things coming up. We have our live Bible study today on our YouTube channel at 3 o'clock. So we hope that you have a great day. God bless and take care.
Bye.
Bye.